Hello, viewer, and welcome to Spotlight here on Hope TV, where you look and live. And we are always doing our very best to bring to you persons and discussions that are just bringing light in our community. And this month has been the Mental Health Month, and it's just right for us to close out this month with that discussion and to guide us in that discussion today on mental health and habits for a healthy mind is one of our just popular and one of the persons who we really like coming to this program often, and that is Mercy Irungu, who is a mental health champion, and we're going to be discussing about habits for a healthy mind, your healthy mind. And as always, you're part of this discussion. Do engage us on the WhatsApp line provided and also on our social media platforms. Do tell us what you think about habits that lead to a healthy mind and sometimes an unhealthy mind. Mercy, welcome.
Yes. Thank you so much, Rev.
Yeah, welcome to Spotlight. This has been a mental health month. And, Mercy, mental health is not a very old term. It's not a very old area. It's not that the issues have not been with us,
Yeah.
but they had never been quite classified the way they are classified now. For instance, would have people who would call mad in the marketplace,
Yeah.
and would just say, oh, that person is mad. And then we have people who would run into depressions, but would think that something is really wrong with them in terms of many things.
Yeah.
So the issues were with us, but the clustering of these issues into now the mental health area is new.
Yes.
Comment about that.
Yeah, it is new. One of the reasons that it is new, the world is revolving. Issues were there even before, but in today's world, the 21st century, there are so many issues that have come up and a lot of disorders that have been identified. A long time ago, maybe before, there were disorders, but as you say, they were considered mad. That person, we had a lot of cultural issues also. And so when it comes to psychology, it is actually very scientific. We call it a predisposition when maybe somebody behaves in this way and not the other, or when they have traumas, other people behave differently from the others. And so now there's a lot of research. Scientists have come up with how the brain functions, just like the way a doctor checks, a physician would check whether you're sick. And so this issue of psychology, mental health, it is because the researchers have come up with, they have identified that this is wrong because of the behavior, this is wrong because of the way the person is speaking, there's a lot of changes in a person's behavior. And alas, mental health is considered a very important thing, especially in the 21st century.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, just connected to that, is that for the longest time, if anyone was seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist, then it was really off. It was something that was seen as, oh, that person is sick, that person is off,
Yes.
that person is unstable. And so there was something about, seeing a psychologist, seeing a psychiatrist, that was really scary or really like making you look like you're a write-off,
Yeah.
Do you see that things have improved now? The attitude is different?
Yeah, a lot. We are not where we were. In fact, there's a lot of mental health awareness in almost every organization, every group. People have embraced mental health. I remember in the Western world, mental health is really a big issue. In Africa, we have embraced it because we have seen that, yes, these are issues that are affecting our society, and so we have to come up with interventions to see why do these people behave in a certain way. For example, if they are refugees, they must be having traumatic events in their mind, and so they need care so that they don't get depressed or they don't get to the other stage of being stressed. Long time ago, if, as you say, you are referred to a psychiatrist, actually people would say, I think I'm getting mad, that madness. But that's not the case. Everybody is a candidate towards mental health. Mental health is a normal issue now because we've raised awareness. It is just a checkup of how are you, what is your brain thinking about, what is disturbing you, what are the levels of your stress, what are the levels of your anxiety, why are you not sleeping, So it is all about seeing the behavior and then curing that behavior. Long time ago, it used to be brushed off. I mean, did you hear people say that is how this person behaves? But it stops there. That is how that person is. It stops there. But come to psychological aspect, why is this person behaving the way they're behaving? There must be something. There must be a trigger. There must be a genetic factor. There must be something, a history, trauma, and etc.
Okay.
Yes.
And because we talk about mental health issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we talk about intense things like depression,
Yeah.
suicidal tendencies.
Yes.
But Mercy, at what point does as a mental situation, let me call it, or mental engagement, or a mental challenge,
Yeah.
at what point does it become a mental health issue? Because there must be a plane of normal, stress has to be, this must be some normal kind of day-to-day stress.
Yes.
If it is confusion, sometimes indecisiveness. There
Yes.
could be some level of indecisiveness also that is just normal,
Yes,
right?
yes.
If it is anxiety, there must be a level of
Yes.
normal anxiety,
Yes.
right? So at what point does anxiety or, just thoughts of loneliness, at what point do they tip and become now a mental health issue?
That's a good question, Rev. First and foremost, there are two types of stress, of course. According to the viewer, maybe by being using the normal words, good stress and maybe extensive stress. Just as the way you've said and mentioned that, the normal stress, when you meet somebody, they'll tell you, oh, I'm stressed, that is okay. But a stressed person will not tell you they're stressed because already so much is happening in their minds. And there are signs that will tell a person they are now in a mental intensity, mental health issue. For example, if a stress escalates and an individual is not able to go to work, for example, or they are not enjoying what they used to enjoy. Let's say it's a hobby. Maybe they used to like swimming, singing, dancing, going to church, loving their work, and then all of a sudden the individual does not love the work, then that's an alert. Something is not right. If there is loss of appetite, something also is not right. If there is lack of sleep, insomnia. Somebody goes to bed on time, but there's no sleep because there's something that has happened. The stress levels are so high. The hormone is too high, Those are the issues that tell you something is not right.
Okay.
And that's why mental health awareness speaks about when to identify that something is not right. I've just talked about the issues that anxiety, for example. Irritation, sometimes you would find people are irritable, easily irritable, That is also a sign that something is not right, that an individual is going through a lot, There are individuals who just mute, they don't want to talk. That is also a sign that something is wrong somewhere, and it needs immediate action. Why? If it is delayed for a certain period of time, buying time the way a long time ago, an individual is going through stress and it is escalating to anxiety, they're not eating, they're not able to sleep, loss of appetite, they're losing their weight, their kilos, then if it is not taken care of, it leads to depression. Yes.
Okay. And thinking that by the time somebody notices that things are drifting, it could either be them noticing or somebody in the environment noticing. And so, Mercy, I'd want you to also speak to the importance of self-awareness and how that makes one know that things are not okay.
Yeah. I've talked about self-awareness here, Rev, quite some time. Because that is the genesis. I remember we did a show and you told me, Mercy, you are insisting on self-awareness. I remember that. Still today, it is the bottom line. I mean, it is the thing, it's the backbone. Self-awareness is the road to freedom, mental freedom, or a healthy mind. Why? If an individual knows that they are easily irritable, if they know, they will not be irritated because they already worked on themselves and know when I go to a certain place, I get irritated. So what I'll do A, B, C, D. You see, self-awareness. If an individual knows they are easily angered, their anger, they need to do anger management, They need to know themselves that I'm easily angered by things that don't even matter. So what am I going to do? I will work on myself. So self-awareness. If it is an individual, there are people who they meet somebody on the road and they see that is the person that I don't want. They dodge like this. And so it's good to face your issues, your fears, and say, why should I dodge because of somebody? Let me face this person so that life moves on, Self-awareness. That's what I'm talking about, freedom. So if an individual knows themselves, life becomes very easy. Relationships becomes very easy. Work becomes enjoyable, because self-awareness covers a whole range of mental health. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm sure that the viewer would also want to know.
Yes.
How does one attain self-awareness? How do you move from a place where maybe you are living a life of others and you are being reactive to your environment without you necessarily bringing out who you are? So how maybe quickly, I know it's a long process, could be a textbook, could even be a whole unit in psychology, but maybe on a day-to-day language, how does one attain self-awareness?
Yeah, that is really deep. It's a whole unit, but we can summarize by saying that the first thing, identify your triggers. What an individual needs to know. For example, let me give my example. I used to be a very impatient person. That was number one. Impatient was Mercy. So I discovered I'm impatient. That type of a person who I do not like jams. I mean, traffic jam. So I know I have an app that checks where there are no jams in this city, because I don't want to stay in a jam, traffic. So identify your triggers so that you know how you react towards them. For example, if a person is in a conversation with another person and their tempers are so high, they should keep cool. Talk to themselves and say, Mercy, I'm supposed to speak, but you know what? I'm not going to speak. That is control. Yeah? So how do people have control? Is by first identifying their triggers and then knowing how to deal with it. Then they have self-awareness. It is that simple. Yeah. Once somebody discovers who, and you know what, Rev? These things happen because of the way we were brought up. Yeah? If a child is not secure, definitely they have anxiety issues. they become very insecure. Maybe they were not brought up by their parents, you know. Maybe something happened during the way. So these things that happen when people are grown-ups, it's because of other issues down here when somebody was being brought up.
You know, it has been said,
Yes.
Mercy, that you can't blame your parents when you're 80. You know, like, it has to reach a point where you cannot say that now you are maybe a 50-year-old and you are still saying whatever you see is because of my mother, because of my father, because of my childhood. You're 60 and you're
Yes.
still saying, this, blame it on my childhood, or, you know, it's been said in, I mean, just in common conversation.
Yeah.
That there has to be a point where you just have to own up, stop blaming your
Parents.
your parents,
Yes.
and just live life.
Yeah, it is true. But it's better said than done. Why? From 0 to 7 years, that is how a person will live. Imagine, 0 to 7. And that's why I keep on insisting to parents. Any parent who has a 0 to 7 years children should be very careful. Why? Because they are in their cognitive years. Cognitive is everything. They are interacting with the world. You know, they know the sun is rising, the sun is setting, there is rain, there is people, there is grandfather, there is animals, cognitively. So when they discover they were isolated during 0 to 7, they'll never forget. I know there are stories people say, oh, they went to their grandmother. I mean, the grandmother said this. They cannot forget. Why? And they're 80 years or they're 60 because the brain was just taking in. That's the time to take in. And that's what you fly with for the rest of your life. And that is why you hear people of 80 years narrating what they used to do when they were young. And you're wondering, why are they telling us? Because that is their cognition. That is how the brain got 0 to 7. And once a child has been secure from 0 to 7, same thing, they will fly with it positively. So it's either negative or positive.
Okay.
And so if someone is, I like the way you've brought it, that, I mean, we should own up. It's better said than done because we are a product of our childhood. And we can't run away from it. It's the environment.
All right. Now, I have 10 things that are coming to my mind.
Yes.
But that's so critical that up to the age 7 that's the place of the base memory
Done.
for anyone.
Yes.
Now, do parents know that? Because the way parents sometimes deal with like the 0 to 7 it's as if they are just, you know, holding them to grow up and then they start dealing with them when they're 13. Right?
Exactly.
So maybe you can speak to parents. What should they do at 0 to 7, especially in terms of the future of the mental wellness or the mental health of their child?
That's very important. You know, Reva, I'm a campaigner of parenting because I'm also a parent. And I was parented also. And if a parent is aware, I mean, the world will be a better place. Can you imagine? Because a parent gets a child, and normally it's like a glass. You know, a glass is colorless. And then you put water. You know, you put clear water. But if a parent decides to put brown water there inside that is a bit contaminated, that is what the child will become. So a parent has a role, a very important role during 0 to 7. How? If a child cries for so long and they have not been taken in by the mother on the laps or the dad, the child tends to know, even if I cry, nobody will pick me, you know, which is very dangerous. So a child should cry and immediately the parents should pick the child. If it is hunger, if a child feels hungry, the child cries. So the mother either lactates the baby or there's food. And so how you respond to the needs of the child from 0 to 7 is what will determine the behavior of the child for the rest of their lives. Can you imagine, as a parent? Even in terms of provision, for example, security. For example, if a child knows, if I ask for a pen from my dad, and my dad does not bring a pen, will they ask again? They will not. They will ignore and suppress it. And then when they go to school, they bully other children by even they steal the pen, they slap the other kids, they know how to fight because they don't have a venting place at home. So what do we do, parents? Give your children a leeway to express themselves and love them appropriately. I mean, hug your children, be close to them. You know, I always insist that kids need love. Only that. They need love and a safe space, a conducive home for both dad and mom and maybe the other people. And also children need affirmation. I mean, just it's good to speak to your children. Oh, you're the best. You are number one. I love your zeal. You know, encouraging these kids.
Talking about Africa?
That is it.
I'm
talking about Kenya.
You're telling your child you're number one?
Yes.
Calling them all those names?
Yes. We got to do that because charity begins at home.
Because what I'm asking this is because let's take parents.
Yeah.
And that age you talked about, 0 and 7. Parents sometimes tend to be very indifferent. They want the child not to disturb. As long as the child is not disturbing, then they will not bother. There's no consciousness that I have 0 to 7 to mold this child, to create the base, you know. So there's no, we don't, what we actually praise, we say, no, this child does not disturb. Since there was 0 to 10, they've not disturbed. So if you don't disturb, then we don't bother, right? That's the common practice. But then you're saying here that there's a big, we need to be aware of this.
Definitely.
And even for me as a parent, I think it's making me reflect on that. And then now coming to like the wider society.
Yeah.
And the correction, because now we are told that you're not supposed to spank your child. You're not supposed to, use those kind of the traditional methods of, I mean, the rod and all, and so in terms of course, there is kababa, kind of side, but there's also the side whereby you have to discipline.
Yes.
So how does discipline also get to a place where it forms a base as well? It's not just the affirmation, but also the correction.
Yes.
How does it also contribute to the base?
Yeah. That's really interesting. The kababa, the kamami thing, it also comes with consequences. But in psychology, we talk about parenting styles, and one of the best parenting style, is authoritative. That you be tough and also loving. You have a balance. A parent needs to balance, not to be authoritarian. I mean, you gotta go my way. It's either my way or the highway. If children hear their dad's car coming, they are shaking because they do not know how daddy will come or mommy will come. But if mommy just comes calming and then talks to the kids, knows what has been happening the whole day and knows how the spouse was, then if he sees a mistake, then he corrects. That is what we're talking about, balancing. And if a child, for example, does a mistake, we are not spanking, we are withdrawing privileges. For example, if a child does something wrong, you just communicate to them and tell them, you see, if you do not clean my car or if you do not wash the dishes, I mean, you will not go for swimming. It's just simple. And you see, they'll say, I don't want to miss swimming, so I'm going to do the dishes, We reinforce. If a child does well, reinforce it by doing something, by giving them positive reinforcement, by helping them, by applauding them, by maybe buying for them a gift on their birthday, going for a trip, If you've been giving them these things and they are not doing what the rules were for the house, then you'll just sit on the table and say, did you do ABCD? No. This has been taken away. You know, it's that simple. Because spanking, there's a story I read that a child would just bring themselves and tell their dad, now, I want you to beat me before you go, because I have a lot of mistakes. You know, they numb. Yeah, because they want to be beaten even in advance.
Whoa.
So for them to, so we are not in that era anymore. We are discussing our children on the table. What do you want? Daddy wants this, mommy wants this, the children want this. If anybody breaks the rules, these are the consequences. And so nobody wants to break the rules. No one. And if somebody breaks the rules, they are ready to come and apologize before the society, the family court, you know. There's a time I came here and said, a family is like an organization. So there's a CEO, there's the MD, there are people, there are workers, there are everybody. So a meeting needs to be called so that we know how we can punish this person who has done wrong. They cannot repeat again.
You see, you're talking about a whole family management,
Yes.
right? And let's stay there, because when it comes to mental health, there are two very big places that disrupt, either build or they destroy the mental wellness of a person. That is the workplace and also the home. Now, somebody said once that if you're walking in the streets and find that the men you are encountering are not talking to themselves out loud, congratulate them, because they really are able to manage a lot of home stuff. You know, if they aren't speaking, if you can manage the home stuff without speaking to yourself out loud, then you're doing very well. But again, the home, Mercy, as a source of mental instability, mental illnesses, and sometimes people who, as you say, either from their childhood, that's one base, but also in the day-to-day relationships, you find that people are no longer just having mental disturbances. They have deteriorated to high blood pressure. They have deteriorated to other bodily, biological, complications. Or because there is a certain domestic situation. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. We always say that if there is an issue, it needs to be discussed. And it's good for our viewers to identify their stressors. Let's start there. What is a stressor towards your home?
Now, you see, sometimes, Mercy, the stressor is no longer something particular.
Is it?
The stressor becomes a person.
Aha!
Yeah, the stressor, it began maybe with small little things.
Yes.
It began with elements and aspects, words and attitudes. But it's deteriorated to a person that you are stressing my life.
True. Actually, the best thing to do is to accept that an individual is stressing me. That is number one, because you're gonna identify what is the problem. For example, how is my marriage? How is my parenting? How is my nuclear family? Who is not part of this family? What is happening? How is our financial situation? You see, let's not bury things under the carpet. Communication, because I've always talked about that. Every family needs communication. And by the way, if something is wrong, children are the first culprits. If a man and a wife are not in good terms, the children are the grass. They really suffer because they know how to, they're so instinctual. They look at daddy and they know, even if you're trying to hide, something is not right. It's only that they cannot say. But they will tell their teacher in school, they'll tell me as their therapist, something is not working. Something is happening. My dad is sad. My mom is crying. And you see, now the home becomes destabilized. So the first people to style up It's the husband and the wife. Self-awareness. Once a husband and wife styles up in terms of how they deal with their issues, and once they style up and know, we have other small kids that we are bringing up, we gotta know how to deal with our issues, then the home will camouflage automatically. And you see, I always insist, Daktari, that I would love family. A family is a place to relax. By the way, once you come from work, which is the best place you'd like to go? Home.
Yeah.
Then a home must be very safe for everybody, not a place of battle and hatred and resentment and stuff like that.
The practical side is that people really want to go to relax, but
yes.
When the home is not a relaxing point, they found other places.
That is now the problem.
Are relaxing points that sometimes oppose or compete with the home.
Especially drug and substance abuse, you know, and maybe other things that lead to deterioration instead of mending. And also religion. There's so many things that people run to when their home is not working. And so the best thing is to fix the home. Know your person. If it is a husband, please, let's reduce the egos of a man. Please, I'm speaking with this with a lot of caution.
All the best. All the best on that.
Yes.
All the best.
The egos should reduce so that we come together. Then the wife should reduce a lot of yelling, you know, nagging, and realize, how do we face this issue? Because once they are healed, both of them, when a man and a woman heal, the home heals, the neighbors heal, workplace heals. I mean, everything smooth. Finances start coming. I mean, everything is at peace. So can we look at what is ailing the marriage first, the relationship? Because that's the problem. If a man or a wife is stressed at work, at home, they will bring this at work. We have seen that. The HRs can tell us. They will notice that this worker has an issue at home. Yeah? And so let's not hide. These things are seen. Even kids will see. Let us sort our communication skills. Let us be aware that the other person is a human being. You know? Let us be sensitive, because there's a lot of pride, even in marriages. Nobody wants to stoop low. I've always talked about come at an agreement, a level playing field. I mean, lose yourself. Lose yourself for the sake of tranquility, you know? Because once everybody is high up there, then there's a lot of competition. I've seen competing couples. I've seen couples who do not love one another, yet they're staying in one house. It is really a waste of time. It's good to face your issues. Let us face our issues head on. Let us look where the pain is so that we get healed. But if we continue with the pain, then it gets worse. Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking of a situation where as people get into the home, that there is a silent commitment because the home is a place of high emotional intensity, whether it's in the good or in the bad way. I'm thinking of a situation whereby there's a mutual silent decision that as a husband, I would do my best to take care of your mental health. You know, there's nothing that I'm going to do that is going to push you over to drugs, to push you over to drinking, to push you over to physical diseases. You know, a silent covenant that you have with yourself. I took maybe a husband. There is a mutual agreement, because some, Mercy, and you know this better than myself, because you deal with this all the time.
Yeah.
There are spouses who are intentionally going out to destroy the minds and hearts of their mates, you know, of their husbands, of their wives. It's an intentional direction that they will not have peace. They will be made to feel nothing. You know, the more depressed you are, the happier I am. Now, homes are running like that.
Oh, that's very unfortunate. Actually, that is really sad, because for how long will somebody be intentional to destroy or to push away their spouses? Instead, there must be an agreement. There must be a covenant. There must be I normally call goal. I mean, what is the goal of this? You see, if a couple lacks goals, then the intentionality of destroying the other person comes in. But if a family says, we have a strategic plan from 2024 to 2028, simple, we are working towards the goal. We will travel to this destination. Our children are reaching these ages. We will, I mean, there must be a smooth, you know, the way the companies run. That is the way a family should be run. And even better, because these people love one another.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I like your ideal. We need idealists in the world. And I think you're one of them. But the reality is that love long left.
Are you sure?
Yeah, instead of now it's a rough zone,
No.
people stay in this marriage, you know, for other reasons, but not because love long left, you know. No, let's not engage that. That's for another day. But what are some of the habits
Yes.
That a home should have
Yeah.
that takes care of the mental health of everybody? You know,
Yeah.
the children
Yeah.
are stable.
Yes.
The spouses are stable.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that the home should practice
Okay.
or put in place?
Yeah. We call it a healthy mind platter. It's like the way we ask for, you go through a restaurant and you ask for a platter. There's so many things that come in a platter. Same thing, the mind has a platter. This platter is composed of many things. The first one is, how should we sleep? Resting. This house, you know, there are houses where people don't sleep. Either there's loud music, either people are partying. So the rule is enough sleep for my house. My wife should sleep from this to these hours. My husband should sleep like this. The kids, like now, if they are teenagers in your home, they should sleep 9 good hours. I know parents wake their children early. They pull their duvets, wakey, I don't know what. No, and they don't want to wake up. Let them sleep. Yeah. Another thing is playtime. If it is daddy, please play with your kids. I mean, remove your suit, wear shorts, walk the dog with your kids. Tell them these are trees. They are exotic trees. They are called acacia. You know, they are called, I don't know, you know those hard scientific names of the trees. Daddies should know those, you know, because they want to tell their children how they were taught. You know, we are who we are because we were brought up. We were brought up by strong people. But parents of today, they don't want to trickle down the knowledge to their children. So when you're walking, you tell them, you know what? Tell them stories. You know, we used to be told stories that were very scary. Like for me, there was a story. I was told that if I go out, I'll meet a big giant. So I couldn't go out because it was dark. So I stay in the house. You know, it gave me some attitudes of you know, how I live, values, you know. So a home should have those stories at home. Then play board games, for example, together, all of you. And then please, daddy, please get defeated by one of your children. The children will sleep very well when they know, yes, today I defeated daddy, you know. I mean, yeah. I mean, fail something so that the kids can find a space. Let them know you can also lose, you know, the parents. It's not about being so high. I mean, come down to their level, you know. Go for swimming together. People should pray together, you know. Have a corner somewhere. Devotions. Those are the things we're talking about. And if it is one person who has a problem, let it be for everybody. Solve that problem. Attend the school, the open days for your kids, you know. Go for swimming galas. Just stay there, you know. Those are the healthy habits. If it is on Sunday, if going to church is on Sunday for most families, or even on Saturdays, whichever day, it should, I mean, everybody should be on board. There's nobody who should be left. You know, those are the healthy habits. If it is shouting, I mean, there should be rules. We don't shout. We just say what we want, you know. We don't cry just like that. I mean, there's no crying just like that. There's no, you should have a reason. We should respect the nanny. This nanny is the one who takes care of us, cooks for us, cleans for us. She deserves respect. Giving gifts. A family should give gifts to one another. Raffle down, put raffles on the table, pick your partner, buy for them a gift. Show your children how to gift one another. And when they reach 12 years, introduce them to money. Because we want our kids to know money. Let them know how to purchase. Let them have that power. They feel good, you know. So those are the healthy habits. And then for the parents, they need meditation. People work, we are living in the 21st century where everything is busy and everything is fast. There's a lot of individualism, Rev, you know that? So, I mean, people should get in touch with themselves. What do I mean? If let's say a couple come from work, they can do it together or they can do it separately. Just go to your bedroom or your prayer room or somewhere, sit down, listen to your body. Quietly, touch base, you know yourself. And the moment you touch base, you discover you have a backache or you have somewhere is aching. That's when the mind gets in touch with you. Because you've been so busy, maybe driving your car the whole day, maybe in a matatu, working. So when will you touch base? That is what is leading us to high blood pressure, cancer, so many diseases because we are not touching base. So my request is a family should touch base individually, alone, thinking, meditating, and then have compassion. A dad and a mom have compassion. Look at your spouse as a human being, not as an enemy. Yeah, look at your children as gifts, you know. Those are the healthy habits. And once you have those healthy habits, I've left one that is very important. Connect with friends. You know, like for us, we have a face, we normally call it face ministry, face group, whereby couples meet. And we normally go there, we meet, we talk about parenting, relationships, finances, ABCD. So a couple needs to plug into another couple for support. Yeah? Go for coffees. I mean, dates. I don't know. I don't know why people, when they get married, they don't do this. It's a continuation of where you stopped. By the way, it should be better. It should be better.
Well, those are really good rituals, we call them that. And clearly, they are things that families should endeavor to do. Let's look at the workplace also. Because the workplace is a place of a lot of stress, a lot of sometimes loneliness. Sometimes people don't just want to show up in the workplace. They're in for the pay, you know, and the amount of things that they have to go through for the sake of pay are sometimes very punishing, right? I want you to speak specifically to bosses, to supervisors, to managers, about the awareness that in the name of pushing their, workmates or their departments, in the name of, getting results, sometimes they breeze their workers to a place of almost no return, right? So I wanted to speak to bosses and the need to create healthy environments in their workplace.
Yeah, that is true. We should be mindful about each other, regardless work or relationships. And the same person who came from home, the person who came from home is the same person who is at work. And so there's something we call flow. An individual's life has to flow. Flow means at home is okay, obviously, at work should be a tick. Let's talk about the vice versa. At home it's worse. What will happen at work? It's worse. And so bosses should identify an individual capacity. If an individual comes late, they are taking off so much, that is a concern. And then they should know, why is this person coming late? And then what can we do? I know, okay, it's an ideal situation, I know, that's what I'm going to say. But that's how it should be for a real flow to flow. But if an employer is not a good, cannot sense that this employee has an issue, then that is a problem. And that's why most corporations have embraced mental health. They have plugged in for therapists who their employees go to when they feel overwhelmed. Everybody feels overwhelmed. Everybody is prone to mental health issues. And so not only employees, everybody, bosses and supervisors should be keen to listen. There should be a mutual agreement, a mutual relationship for work to flow. And you see, there are tests, there are results. For example, if a company offers good incentives to its employees, what happens? There's a cause and an effect. Definitely there's going to be output, and not only very good output. What about the vice versa? If there are no good incentives in an organization, then there's a lot of laxity. There's a lot of slowness, you know, and so there's no performance. And that is why there's push. Because you see, if there's no performance, obviously there must be push. What about if there is relaxation? There is, do this job, just like the way we talk about reinforcement, positive and negative. Okay. So I would say that companies should be mindful of their employees, know what is happening, give them support, have HR, have a counselor who can hear their views, to have somebody who can talk to them. There are so many cases of suicide, and I would like to talk about it. I know I don't know about our time, that somebody could be dying next to you and you're not aware. So why are people not aware? Because they are not taught how to identify this person has an issue. And I had talked about that. Withdrawal, for example, they're not doing what they used to do. Keeping quiet. They just go mute, you know. That is a sign of raising alarm. And so my request would be, let us not be ignorant. Let us identify the issue and we seek help immediately. Okay. Yeah.
All right. And finally, would want to just speak to our viewers who are, most of them are Christians, very religious people. But I want you to maybe caution us on how religion or some form of spirituality can end up to actually becoming a real mental sickness. How spirituality, how religion can lead to not just heaven, but how it can get one to, what you can call a mental decomposition.
You see, we had a conversation on Saturday about the same. I don't know how the spirit is moving. And there's a difference between spirituality and religion. But people tend to mix both. But there's a huge difference. We are all spiritual. We are born spiritual. Everybody is spiritual, according to psychology. Religion just came in. You can believe in any religion. You can decide how you're going to do things the way you want. It's a decision. But spirituality is us. It is inborn. It's inborn spiritual. And so, I had mentioned earlier that if a person is stressed, they tend to be very religious. Yeah? They want to do things. They want to pray. They want to fast. Remember the shakahola, everything? You see, because it's a mental issue, they have hope that everything will work out. But I would like to ask a question. Even God said that we should work so that we get paid. We should look for a job. So if every individual does not do what is right, then they're going to be stressed and look for a shortcut. And which is the best of shortcut? It's the one for spirituality and religiosity. And so what would I warn our viewers is pray as you work in the field, you know. Even Jesus people met Jesus on the way. I mean, even remember the story of even all the people who are healed by Jesus? It is because they were out there. They went. They remember the case of the daughter is it Jairus' daughter? I mean, you should be busy doing something and praying, but you cannot pray seated and waiting to be blessed. It does not work like that. And that is why now we end up being caught up by other issues like what we've just experienced a few years ago, which is still ongoing. So my request would be work and pray. Work towards your marriage as you pray, you know. And you see, what I believe is God is just next to you. Just tell him what you want and he will do it to you. Nobody needs to be your intermediary. Yeah. Yes.
All right. It's been a wonderful conversation, as always, very insightful. And one of the things that comes out strongly is your passion for family, and also how the family should be a place of healing, a place of mental health construction, not deconstruction. And that comes out very strongly, especially the role of parenting,
Yeah.
you know, in creating a base for the children.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mercy, for your views on Spotlight.
Thank you.
And viewer, we've been talking to Mercy Wanjeri, who is a champion of mental health, and lots of insights. But one of the things that comes out is that mental health is actually achievable. It's something that you can work on through practices, personal practices, through domestic practices. And also key to all this is self-awareness. Just take time to just be true to yourself. Even in the midst of turbulences, take time to be true to yourself, because that is also the hub of mental stability. Thank you for watching.